Would love to learn more about you, your role at Mack Weldon, and really how you've kind of grown the brand over the last 2 years in your role.
Absolutely, and super exciting day because I'm back in our headquarters in our office in New York. So that's why my background is of the office. So it's super exciting to be here. I'm Andy Rosenberg. I'm the director of brand marketing at Mack Weldon. We are a premium men's basics company that started back in 2012. We initially, specialized in socks and underwear, but since then have grown our product line to cover everything you can put on in a given day, right? And our goal is really to create like a really super simple shopping experience for our customer. And my role oversees a lot of our brand communications, our partnerships, our communications through public relations, really just getting the brand out there and making sure that the customer and new audiences know who we are as we continue to evolve as a brand.
Awesome. So speaking on brand and the importance of brand and getting your brand message to existing and new customers, could you speak a little bit about the brand values and equity that you guys have been building since 2012? And really, how are you measuring if you're succeeding in kind of developing the values and instilling the values that you're trying to give to customers?
Yeah, absolutely. I think the major advantage we have right now in terms of brand values, our brand values have always stayed consistent. It's really offering, quality technical innovation on product, listening to our customer. We really go to great lengths to make sure our customer comes first in all feedback and product. And it's, again, delivering that simple shopping experience. So we know time is a precious commodity to our customer. How are ways that we can deliver on a promise of an efficient shopping experience across our board? And we've really grown that. So to answer your question directly, after we're almost celebrating our 9th anniversary, you really get to learn from the customer. You get to analyze tons of sets of data. And we take a really hard look across all departments, cross-functionally, to get an understanding of how our customers behave, how they're acting in the current situation, which these days you really have to adapt to a given environment. And we stick to the core value systems, but we learn how to deliver more on them in different ways. So that can be when you look at all the ways we can talk to the customer and the customer experience for shopping. It can mean everything from our marketing campaigns and what we're saying, giving them the information they need to make an informed decision, or it could be as simple as improving our returns process, because that's a huge thing in the D2C space, and giving them the ability to have as seamless of an experience, even with that touch point. But it could also mean other things. In 2019, we opened up our flagship retail store, and that was an opportunity to meet the customer in the, literally physically where they're at. And so giving them an even easier shopping experience combined with their online experience to go in and touch our fabrics and get that first experience. We're constantly improving the way that we deliver on those brand values, but they've remained the same throughout. And we take great pride in our customers. At the end of the day, they're the ones who help shape it, alongside our awesome team and staff who bring new ideas to the table every day.
Awesome. A couple interesting points you make there. First, given kind of the vast data that you guys are looking at, month over month, year over year, is there anything, given how rapidly things changed over the last 18 months in that data that was counterintuitive? Was there any trends that you saw that you were like, wow, I wouldn't have expected this, but given that, we have to make this or that change?
Well, people really like sweatpants, so that was a good thing. That is something that we were happy and expected. But I think we had to adapt. And in terms of things we actually didn't anticipate like the sweatpants season, extending as long as it did. So that really helped us. That our Ace sweatpant is, a fan favorite, and that was something that really helped us. I think what we had to then also balance that with is people were staying more indoors. That helped us, but we had to shift focus away from product categories that were leaning more towards outside. So right before the pandemic, we couldn't anticipate that our launch for our jacket. Maybe we would have shifted the timing of that launch had we known that people were going to be staying indoors. So we had to make those types of shifts that weren't planned, but it ended up helping us because we were able to put our focus and attention on the products that we knew the consumer needed throughout the pandemic. And now, looking at where we're at now, the unexpected is still how are consumers going to behave when it comes to going back into, the world, and what clothing do they need to help them get there. And I think that's something that we have plenty of insight into, but at the end of the day, our guesses have to match what the customer behavior ends up being. And I think there is still a little bit of an unknown across retail at the moment of how are people going to dress going forward. So we do our best to arm ourselves, and we have tons of product. It's a good thing, and a really talented team who can bring new products to market. But I think there's a little bit of a entering the new world again that is an unknown at the moment.
Yeah, definitely. And on that note, you mentioned that you launched your first flagship store. Obviously, there is this big unknown, like how is consumer behavior going to change as things begin to open up? Are you guys going to make a bet and continue to expand your in-person presence through brick and mortar, or are you guys going to maybe hold off until you do see how consumer behavior trends over the next maybe 12 to 24 months?
Yeah, it's a great question. I think for us, because our flagship store in Hudson Yards, amazing. Go anyone in New York listen to this, go check it out. Say hello to our team. It's a beautiful store in Hudson Yards, and what was great in 2019 was that we saw like a lot of traffic come to the stores, and obviously with the pandemic, it was hard to gauge, what the consumer behavior would be year after year. So really, we want to take year over year. So we want to take a little bit of a lens on what's going on there. It's great to see people returning to Hudson Yards. They're doing a lot of great stuff on their end to bring in, and everyone's happy to kind of get there. And as people return to the office, we will have a better sense for how we live in the retail world. But we're always looking at new lanes. So if it's something that will be great for the business, it's certainly something that we will look into, and we do have a good amount of data already. But we take very calculated. We make very calculated decisions when it comes to expanding physical, and I think we were in a fortunate spot to not have a ton of overhead with what happened. And I think we need to also feel confident that the retail trends will go in line with what we're projecting right now. But there's good thing is the doors are open on Hudson Yards, and we're welcoming customers back each day. And it's great to see that experience happening again.
Yeah, awesome. Given that you do have, both a brick and mortar and obviously a more heavy presence online, how do you try to unify the experience for a consumer who might, have previously shopped online and is now going into store, or vice versa, someone who finds you guys in, the yards and they see you and all of a sudden they're coming online? How and what approach do you take to unifying that experience?
Cohesive storytelling is really important when you're having that customer maybe find out you first in the store and then going online, or vice versa. I mean, a large portion of our business is still obviously e-com driven is the majority of our business, so likelihood they're finding out about us digitally first. But wherever they find out about us, as long as we're telling a cohesive story through our product, through our design, through our communications decisions, that's partially how we marry it. And then at the end of the day, it's just offering that really great customer service experience across the board, so that the same level of attention and detail you will get as a customer by browsing our site, and any questions you have, we have an amazing support team. We're also getting that with our store team in the store itself. So it's a very similar experience. So the best thing that we can do is try to tie those worlds together as we expand as a business. But that's where those brand values and knowing our customer and knowing who new customers are going in from the data that we have coming in from our regular marketing channels helps inform us so that we are keeping everything tied neatly together. There's obviously going to be some differences with the physical experience and with the digital, but at the end of the day, we're about delivering just a really efficient shopping experience. So there's things we can do to pull those levers on digital. There's things we can do to pull that in brick and mortar, but the best world does both. The best way to do is combine those worlds. And again, you have to get a little bit creative and scrappy sometimes when you're trying to think, how do I do that as a first step? So I would say also just testing out the same way we test out MVPs on the site, trying out events at the store and trying out new ways to interact with the customer. Those are things that we, will always test first to figure out how do we expand that. At the end of the day, we're really trying to tell that brand story and get that across to our customer.
Awesome. We do have a few questions coming in here that I think we should address. The first being, has the crisis forced modifications to short, mid, and long-term goals, and how you measure based on changes in consumer behavior?
Um, so obviously the plan has been adjusted. I would say short term, we did place an emphasis when the pandemic happened on clothing for indoors, right? And that affected our marketing communications. It also affected where we were advertising. So, looking at things that at the time we were trying to capture customers when they were at home. That actually opened up the doors for us to launch into TV for the first time. So there were ways that we could take advantage of it. So short term, we shifted the focus towards indoors, and we looked for channels that would really amplify our message to those customers that we knew were at home, instead of looking towards some of the out-of-house advertising that you would normally expect from campaigns, or subway campaigns. We were finding people at their home. I would say it's a short-term thing. Medium term, obviously we're projecting ahead, so we place our buys pretty far in advance, but we have to measure that with the consumer demand going on. So I would say maybe influence some of our decision making in terms of which products we were going to really emphasize midterm. Long term, I don't think it affected us. Only in the biggest thing was it was great because we had customers coming into us throughout that period, and now we need to re-engage and really think about how we re-engage them post-pandemic. And I think that actually is the biggest long-term strategy, not pivot, but way that we can figure out now that we have all these customers that came in during that time. We need to deliver just as great of an experience to them with their everyday walks of life, and where they sit and where they're going to work and all that. And we've always done that, but I think now we're placing a further emphasis on where our customer is in the world. And I think it's the long-term shift, if that makes sense.
That does, for sure. Something that you mentioned is, beginning investment in TV advertising. Was that traditional TV advertising? Have you guys been investing at all into OTT advertising at all? That's something that we've seen a lot of brands begin to experiment with, at the beginning of 2020, and really just now seeing kind of the exponential growth as even, consumer behaviors have changed from people watching traditional TV to now getting on a bunch of different streaming platforms, et cetera. How do you guys think about TV advertising?
Yeah, absolutely. We started, we were testing OTT, and we were doing linear. It was our first time breaking through, I believe May of last year when we launched our first ads. And it takes some time to realize the full worlds, but they were really successful up front. But that's also part of the way that how you measure that success. It's not going to be immediate. We're so used to doing things with direct attribution attached to it that I think, to your point, it takes a little bit of time to see that amplification. But it's certainly a channel that we've seen growth from, and we're getting smarter with it. So as we get smarter with it and learn more, we'll continue to test into it, and figure out ways that we can further activate it. So it's been a channel that's worked out really nicely. As we grow the brand, getting that type of exposure is exciting. And as we continue to figure out, what's that new, what are the stories that we're trying to tell our customer, TV gives us such a great platform to just reach a massive audience. So we are definitely going to continue in that way.
Definitely. And what KPIs do you look at for success of your TV ads or OTT?
There's obviously going to be an organic lift that comes in, but we're a sales-driven company. At the end of the day, you have to look at your sessions. You have to look at how it's amplifying site visits and interest in product categories and sales overall. So the same approach we take across all the channels we do to TV. You just have to find different ways to measure it. But there is also that brand lift that you get, and so on the organic side, it's just knowing how to put how to quantify it, and that takes a little bit of time, and that's not fully realized. So it's almost like it's expectation level setting to measure those spikes that you see from like a TV campaign, but it doesn't happen all at once as it would with traditional direct attribution attached to a program. So it's a little about patience, if that makes sense too. So you see that immediate lift, and then once you have more of that data coming in that you can direct towards certain markets, and we work with great teams to help us figure this out. You can get it smarter with it, but you take that same strategy you would in the beginning, and you just double down what's working.
Yeah, definitely. Speaking about like media mix and channel mix, I know you guys were DTC native. How do you guys plan to expand either to different channels, either stay DTC specific? Are you thinking about selling on Amazon or other retailers?
Yeah, I mean, third-party retailing is a world that is certainly a channel that we've done some small testing on. at the end of the day, the best customer experience that we can deliver is on MackWeldon.com and at a retail store. And I think we're still very focused on that. But if look, one of the great things about Mack Weldon is that we are continually testing. So if a case can be made from a business perspective that another channel provides a lot of opportunity, we're certainly going to test into it. So the key thing here is that we take a very calculated approach to everything we do, but we're not afraid to try new things. I think the focus is still is because we know we can control that experience in our delivery. We're most comfortable sticking to being digitally native through our own means. But as we grow, there's expanded interest in our product. Those are worlds that we certainly will put a lens on. Nothing is off the table.
Yeah, one interesting data point I pulled on you guys, because I noticed, you weren't selling on Amazon, which is obviously a hot debate amongst a lot of brands, was they have this data set where you can enter in a search term and it will tell you where it ranks in terms of all of the search terms. So
Yeah.
it rank from 1 to 2 million. Your brand name was hovering around like the 35 to 50,000th most searched search term on Amazon, which was actually comparable to like cold brew coffee. So looking at the data over the last year, you're hovering in and around there. It's interesting to see, there are a lot of people searching for your brand. And when you do search, there's just a cluster of other brands that, are clearly spending money to
Yeah.
show up. Is that something that you guys are tracking internally, or?
Yeah, I mean, we have a high emphasis. We're looking at our SEO, but also our search and what keywords are working. We have the great thing is we have a great digital product team, and we're looking outwards, but we're also able to look inwards at our own site and see what our customers are searching for. And we've just improved the search feature on our site. At the end of the day, what's really important for us is that we're delivering what our customers ask for and what they're searching for. So whatever means it'll take for us to figure that out. We have a great team that is on the task right now. But I think what's really important for us at the moment too is just understanding how people continually interact with our site as we expand product lines and what they're looking for to make sure that we're delivering what we need. And we certainly have search as such a great tool for us to be able to use towards that end.
Yeah, definitely. Something, that's kind of a trend with Amazon is they're more and more becoming like an advertising company as much as they are a marketplace. Even though you guys might not necessarily begin to sell immediately through Amazon, would you ever consider using Amazon as an advertising company? So either leveraging their DSP or their OTT so that you can get access to their first party data to build audiences and target, maybe you have competitors that are selling and you can build audiences based around competitor lookalikes or something like that.
I would say at the moment, we're just really putting our lens internally. I think that's just the smart strategy we can have. We have just a wealth of customer data to sift through that really, that's where the full attention is at the moment.
That makes sense. So based on that, what are some of the key principles to effectively growing your DTC site that you've noticed? What are maybe some of the watchouts that you've seen? So something to look out for, but something that are also fundamental to anyone who's trying to grow their DTC site.
Yeah, so I can't take nearly the credit that our amazing team has built over the past 9 years. I've been at Mack Weldon for almost 2 years, but they really truly built the foundation. So I can speak to those 2 years I've been here and say that it's really about understanding the customer behavior and doubling down on lanes that are going to work. So the best advice I could say for DTC, it's very easy to, we didn't introduce new lines until we felt confident that that's what the demand was. So I would say when you're selling a DTC product, you want to really be direct with what you're selling and not confuse the customer. On the market team, we discussed about the paradox of choice. If you offer too many things in the beginning, you're going to confuse the customer and potentially alienate them from being able to hit that add to cart and buy. So we were very calculated and careful to introduce new products slowly over time. That being said, that's an exciting thing. Everyone gets excited about new product launches, and how we speak to it is very important. It's a big part of our communication strategy. So just now that we have that knowledge base, right, it's important that we tie things together. And so we're thinking about our clothing in a way that our customer can interact with it so that he understands the fabric behind it, right? So that he understands that it's not just a pair of sweatpants, but it's our Ace sweatpants. How do we transfer that to our awesome Ace crew tops that we have as well? So it's as you evolve your product strategy on DSC, really making sure that you still keep it tight from in the beginning is an important part of it. I think one thing I see sometimes across D2C is it's very exciting to launch new products, and we all get excited because in terms of development phase, it's a great thing to launch things. But if the customer is not ready for it, that can end up being a pretty big challenge. So it's going slow in the beginning and iterating and adding new products, but doing so in a way that's very calculated, I think is really necessary.
Interesting. Um, would you say that you see a lot of brands launching products too quickly or additional product lines too quickly now, or is this kind of well accepted, or are there any outliers where maybe launching products quickly does make sense?
I think it's going to be really dependent on every brand. I don't know if I'd say I feel a lot of brands are doing this right now. I think what we've learned though is just educating the customer on even like singular products is something that takes some time. So I do think sometimes D2C brands do take a little bit. I need to take a step back post launch and give ourselves some time to say, okay, what's next in this space? I do think there's a little bit of tendency sometimes to maybe introduce like a new line or new product when there's still a lot that can be optimized on your launch products or your initial strategy, and finding new ways to message that and refining the UX experience, refining landing page communication. It's just there's still a ton of work, and we've learned that over time. That is something I feel every brand can benefit from in the beginning.
Awesome. We have another question here. So since joining, almost 2 years ago, what has been your favorite marketing campaign that you've worked on?
Oh, that's a tough one. There's been some fun ones. I think for me, when we came together around early April last year, as we moved indoors, we ran a CSR promotion with our customers, and we involved in the process of, if they bought from us over a weekend, we would then in turn donate product to New York City hospitals. Because of the timing of everything, it's still one of the moments I look back on that the team really rallied together in a really state of unknown, and we're able to make a significant contribution to what was going on. Hospitals needed basic essentials, and while we weren't selling PPE, they need doctors who were staying overnight needed like basics, and so we were able to really help out there. And I think to me that's still, obviously I would have loved to not have to have had that campaign, but it was a great moment for the team to rally. And I think it's influenced the way we look at future promotions. And when you can accomplish that with your customer audience as well, it just is really satisfying. So it was a team win in every way that you could speak. And, our customers are part of our team.
Awesome. Are you guys planning to run any, similar but maybe slightly different initiatives with either charitable organizations, or do you think that will inspire future marketing initiatives?
I think it all falls into how we evolve the brand. So citizenship, what is our place in the world? That is something that we look at with a tight lens. We have some great partners already that we've been able to work with. Good Plus Foundation is one of them, and they donate essential goods and services to low-income parents. They've been a great partner of ours. We have a donation program that we partnered with an organization that helps us help our customers donate clothing, simple things. And I think those are things that we can always expand upon. And it's part of one of the aspects of the job that I really love, because I think it's important, but it's also to find ways that contextually make sense to your customers so that you aren't pushing something that doesn't fit in with what they're expecting from the brand and within their own lives as well.
Awesome. Going back to kind of your beginning days, what made you want to join Mack Weldon? What was it about the company or the position or what you felt you could do that made you feel passionately to join?
Funny story there, and I sometimes remind my CEO. I learned about Mack Weldon back when they launched, and I'd followed it. But in 2015, our my path crossed with our CEO, and there was an email exchange, and we were both going to meet for a cup of coffee. And as these email threads happen, I think I may have dropped the ball on the cup of coffee, so I apologize to Brian on that. But then in 2019, I was contacted with the opportunity, and I think what really drove me at that time versus like 2015, there's just this chance to take this brand that has done so well over the last, at the time, like 7 years, right? And for lack of a better term, blow it up, like just get it out there so that we take this tiny machine that started as a D2C company and make it, an unforgettable, remarkable brand. And that's really, the team is what sold me at the end of the day. Like when I met with everyone, you got this great sense of pride in the brand and great sense of vision and strategy. And that starts from the top and levels down and goes from the bottom levels up. And I think that's what's really great, because as a startup, what started as a startup but then evolves, you want to make sure that culture is really intact. And I felt really strong about the culture. And that's actually what brought me here.
Awesome. How does that kind of play into kind of all things marketing? Is it very cross-team collaborative where different members from product are helping you guys with the marketing and vice versa? Or what does that inter-team collaboration look like for your marketing campaigns?
Yeah, absolutely. It's extremely cross-functional, and that's another reason that I joined. But it's something I've also really enjoyed as we grow as a company. So we do have a product team, we have our marketing team, but nothing can happen without working together. That's the great thing about working with a physical product and working with e-commerce. Every decision you make affects the other, and without having a great team and great communication, you can't do it. So our teams work really well in terms of knowing when a product conception has happened and then planning out what's the strategy behind it. There's tons of cross-functional communications and efforts going at all times throughout the year. And as we grow and we become stronger, it's even closer communications required, because to grow as a brand and also grow your product line, they're two things that work in harmony with each other, but they require discipline. And so across the org, there's a heightened lens on the brand awareness, in addition to the product, that is going to be exciting over the next few months as we really double down on growing our brand.
Is there one moment maybe that you could highlight that was like a big win when you collaborated with the product team? Was there maybe one specific, maybe like risky campaign that they wanted to run, or was there any win that you felt strongly was a joint team effort?
It's a great question. So as I was giving an answer, I'm like, I don't want to shortchange the other team. So the customer service team, our ops team, our finance team, even I know it sounds like I'm drinking the Kool-Aid, but it's really like everyone plays that role. So while I mentioned product marketing, that's one of the beauties, is getting everyone aligned on everything. In terms of controversial campaigns, I mean, we sell, underwear for a living, so there's tons of room you can have fun with. But we are really delivering, essentials, and trying to think of like a fun story that I could say. The best thing is like we're in line with most of our communication strategies. So I wish I had like a great juicy answer in terms of like a controversial campaign, but I can't think of one, only because there is buy-in from cross teams. By the time this goes out the door, we're all very aligned. Oh, I do have one note. We had to pivot our April Fool's campaign from last year, so it wasn't controversial, but we made a decision that it just wasn't appropriate for a brand to weigh in on April Fool's, and so this year we had to decide, are we ready for April Fools? Is it cool for brands or relevant? It's still relevant for as many success stories you see about brands doing April Fools. You also see, pushback. So we came out with our Heavy Knit X underwear campaign, which was a riff off of the lightest underwear that we had. This was literally like the heaviest underwear. It was like a cable sweater knitted into our underwear. And we were like a little bit nervous, like, whenever we do these things, but our customer generally loves it. And it was great to actually see the anecdotal feedback we got from our customer, and looking at the email responses. It looked like it brought a bright spot to our customers' day. So I would say that's probably the most controversial, is our Heavy Knit X underwear. That took on a few different forms before Heavy Knit X was the final idea, but unfortunately, there are no plans to actually make that. I don't know if there's a wait list for it at the moment, but yeah, I would say that's probably the most controversial in air quotes.
Cool, cool. As you kind of look to the future, if everything went according to plan, you're able to kind of execute and achieve everything you wanted to. What does the future look like 1 year, 3 years, and 5 years from now?
1 year, we've accomplished getting our customer equipped to get back into the world, helping on that journey. 3 years, did you say 3 years or 5 years? 3 years, right?
3 and then 5.
3 years, I think we've scaled the brand to a point that, we're higher in those search results even, and that, we're much more of a household name, and can rely on our own word of mouth, marketing and everything like that, and our own organic channels a little bit more, and our own partnership activations that get us into households and maybe aren't as directly related to direct paid marketing, that we evolve the channel strategies to that point. I think that would be great. And in 5 years, I'm probably it's so hard to even get. I'm not even going to answer that, because I'm happy with just being back in the office today. So it's just extremely hard to think about 5 years from now. But global domination.
Global domination.
That's totally not, that's high level out, but we'll start still with improving upon US, but yeah.
What are you guys exclusive in the US right now, or are you?
We're available in US and Canada.
Are there plans to expand globally in the near term?
I think that's something, again, like everything else, it's something to look at. If the market opportunities present themselves to be advantageous, again, that requires a little bit of, different way of doing things. And localization is, certainly an opportunity, but we want to make sure we have everything in place to be able to serve those markets the same way we would serve US and Canada at the moment.
Yeah, definitely. Based on kind of how you guys are currently marketing, have you guys been picking up any of the newer social media channels like TikTok? And speaking on TikTok specifically, if you have experimented, where have you seen success?
Yeah, we launched our TikTok, I want to say around the same time we launched TV, so like May or June of last year. I think it's really important to test new channels and evolve with social, and you never want to fall behind the pack. So traditionally, I think Instagram and Facebook has always been like a bread and butter. Twitter, we find, because we tend to have an older customer, that's where we, had our existing customer base, but you don't want to exclude the opportunity to capture new markets. And what's cool about TikTok, it's still such the wild, wild west, and brands are still figuring it out. And, our customers is probably getting more on it with each day, and figuring out how to deliver a channel strategy across the board is an opportunity. I think where we saw success, was, delivering a differentiated message. There weren't a lot of brands like us on the platform when we entered into it. So that gave us a chance to carve our own space. I think in terms of an opportunity to grow, is just getting a better understanding of how this translates back to our brand awareness, how this translates back to sales. It takes time to develop those understandings. And I think that's really, the next step in evolving those channel strategies, and really define like, what are the goals of these channels? The goals of TikTok could be way different than, the goals of other social media that we're on. And I think part of that just is figuring out how TikTok's evolving their platform strategy and where we might fit in, more and more.
And have you guys been running like influencer TikToks, or have you been running just standard TikTok ads?
On influencers, we've mainly stuck to Instagram for now. I think that's something we're looking into, as we can optimize the results from past experiences and figuring out maybe it's on TikTok, maybe it's on YouTube. Again, like we're on a constant hunt for our existing audience, but also our new audiences. And I think whenever we start seeing those spikes, that's where we'll invest, a little more heavily in those programs.
Yeah, definitely. We've seen again just through TikTok influencer campaigns that if you do get one of those ones that happens to just blow up and go viral, uh, the results are pretty staggering and bigger than really anything that we see on any other channel, which just speaks to the virality effect of
Yep.
TikTok almost more so than an Instagram even.
Oh yeah, it's that once you can figure out that algorithm, I've tried it on my own personal and I've been very unsuccessful there. So I'm not the best one to comment on that from that end. But I think for us, yeah, I think with anything, I think that's what's great about TikTok. The chance for virality when you deliver a great content experience is there. It's up for grabs, and more so than on other channels. So there's that white whale you keep chasing.
Yeah, for sure. Have you had any campaigns go viral on Instagram?
We've had great successful campaigns. I don't want to oversell the word viral. Again, we have a great team, and I think we know how to speak to our product. So that's a goal, right? To hit is to find the next great campaign that will go viral. I don't want to speak for the whole history to count. I would say, but in my time, we've really been focused on just delivering what we can from a product perspective, from a storytelling perspective. But there's room to go viral, I'd say still, and that's what keeps things interesting every day.
Definitely. Another question here from the audience. So as kind of the world or North America specifically continues to open up, are there any big adjustments you're going to make over the next couple of months to any of your marketing strategy?
I think in terms of adjustments, we're always ready for the next wave. We plan these things like 9 months in advance. So with people getting back out into the world, yeah, we are looking at ways that we can communicate the value of our product to the customer, and we are going to make changes, not changes, but we adapt on a daily basis with our messaging, and so I think you'll see a reflection of that across the customer experience and not just related to our marketing. And so really getting a good idea of how the customer is like buying in the current state is our current goal, to help inform us of what that near term future state will be.
Cool. So I think we only have one more minute here. So maybe you want to leave it off on what you're most excited um, for the next kind of little bit.
I am most excited for our customers to be able to use our product in all of these different settings, and take the workout, our stealth line, back into the gyms, really put it to the test. Take our Maverick, I'm selling individual products here, our Maverick Tech, back into the office to be more comfortable. Seeing how our customer wears product now that they're returning to the office, hey, we make great, sweatpants, and I think there's a little bit more, a wider band on what offices are. I would argue that our sweatpants are an upgrade to many pants. So, but seeing how people are using our product in as they return to the world, to me, is the most exciting part of getting back there.
Do you think the sweatpants are office acceptable?
I 100% think they're office acceptable. I think we have a lot of great pants that are office acceptable, but yeah, sweatpants are here to stay for the office.
I'll have to quote you on